flow.
It's as awareness to us creating
Mm,
life's flow.
mm, like that.
Like creation is to connect it to the larger flow. And we do that by seeing it, believing it, and trusting it. And that's about as far as I've gotten.
It's a mouthful for first thing in the morning, James.
That was my 10-minute meditative pregame.
Mm.
And showing up with an intention,
Mm.
even when I didn't want to have one.
Mm.
I was just unaware I could use one. I lost myself on that one. But it is how we create.
Mm.
We give words to the dream. And we test our dream into the world with our
Mm.
actions, with our actions. Because our actions produce the outcome,
Mm.
the consequences, and the miracles.
And that's
These
both,
are, go ahead.
sorry, that's both masculine and feminine action.
Uh-huh.
Because a feminine action is the preparation
Mhm.
and it's building the vibration so that when you
Yeah.
go out and act physically, you're acting on that vibrational level.
Do you know you can connect that to the word progressive?
Yes, very much so. I didn't
That's
have a
a
word for that before, so that's good.
yeah. So now see the clarity there.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what it was going, like where you popped in with what you came in with. We didn't know where it was going to go.
Correct.
And what it closed the loop of was clarity. See the irony in that?
So why is it ironic though? Because you don't know and then you get clarity.
And we think it should be the other way or something
Mm.
else.
Mm.
So our automatics defeat us. And better yet, they deceive us unintentionally.
Mm.
Again, our lack of awareness of our automatics is the key.
Mm.
The key to what?
Do all automatic?
Abundance,
Ah.
prosperity,
Mm.
abundance, not scarcity. Scarcity is our automatic. You were going to ask something about our automatics?
Mm. So are we sure that all our automatics are ego driven?
Yes, I believe so. Great question. And
Okay.
I feel certain they are. Um, Trying to think of one that wouldn't.
Well, I'm thinking about people that are a lot more
You're judging.
adept.
You're
Yeah.
judging and comparing.
Yeah.
That is an automatic. And what is the source of that automatic? Your belief system. And what we believe came through words. And really, the ego is the one that gets to deal with the words. That's how I can paint myself into a corner that all automatics are ego driven.
I
Just
would agree
from,
that. Sorry, Jess.
yeah, thank you.
Finish that last one again, please.
I think I lost it, what I had with it.
Damn, sorry.
Okay.
So comparing doesn't always mean judgment.
No.
It's just an awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why
It was my automatic one.
what comparing.
Mm. You called it comparing. As we reflect on it, I called it judgment in the moment.
Okay.
The point is what do I call it in the moment? Not what I chose. Because what I chose that reveals what's there for me. And so the awareness is only to go into that one. And then the practice is to see the other side of it. So we're opening it up.
Our way without comparing and assessing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and by doing it, it's both.
Yes.
And the reason we say both is because we have to bring awareness to it. And so that's where in the chat, progressive prosperity is trusting your gut. Now we hear it all the time. We don't know how to listen to our gut.
No, we don't. I would agree with that fully. And then there's that discernment between, that's a good word. I love that word. Because discernment is neutral. So it covers comparing and assessing.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not have to include judgment.
Mm-hmm. Some people's tendency is for them to see it as only that.
Sure. Sure. I mean, I was, how old was I? I was in my early 30s before I could discern between judging somebody and making an assessment about whether I wanted to be around them anymore or not. And it was a very useful experience for me. It really freed me because I knew I didn't really want to be around them, but I also really did not want to judge the behavior that had caused me not to want to be around them. Because in some ways, even though they had behaved the way they had, they'd done it as a child, basically. And I could see that there was no ways in which they had the means to really understand the impact of their behavior. But I just didn't want to be around them. And that was really freeing for me. They let go of the judgment and keep the assessment and have the discernment between the two. So that's why my question was, are all our automatics ego-driven? Because, or maybe there's not a direct, there's not a logically direct relationship between what I've just said and our automatics, sorry. But when you watch, sorry, please, go.
Here. So the ask. So the ask and the question, right? So that's in here is like trusting your gut and then trusting your answer.
Mm.
And this is so if like we go through levels of awareness, levels of intention, like practicing habits, right? And we were going to be progressing our prosperity, right? Not rapidly, not like not instantly, right? It's not like we're fast food abundance, right? Sometimes those things aren't good for you. Yeah. So like there's this expectation and like one learning our gut likely is going to put us in we're going to have to let go of things, which means we have to face them. And right, because we take it so personally, right? And then if it's personal, then it's emotional, and we're afraid of our emotional feelings.
Yeah, that's a good link. It's an obvious one, but it's a really good link about emotion and facing things that don't serve us ultimately.
Ultimately, and it's like for every answer and to every question, it's an infinite right answer. Wrong answer. But it's a place for us to share how we interpreted it, right? Or how our genius went with it, however we went with it is what is the truth for us. The truth for progressing society. And only happens in the moment of now. So when we trust our gut, we can begin to trust our answers. And sometimes our answers will be ego driven, and sometimes they will be go against logic. Uh, and maybe the worst and the best thing you could ever do.
Mm. So I keep on going back to the automatic.
How so?
Because I think in my experience, I have experienced people whose automatics are not are mostly not ego driven.
And what do you wish for them?
What do I wish for them? I can't even begin to think that all. Oh, okay. Sure. That took a while. That they experience more evidence of more people doing that work to get to that place. Because
The
of,
answers are in the links. The answers are in the space between the words, between the sentences, between the lines. Remember, there's always an answer. That's the structure, is that there's always an answer.
mm,
And we just, our automatic is to make up good and bad answers, right and wrong. Uh, and that's the ego.
okay, so if that's the case, then I hold forth that there's a tiny part of the ego which can be driven in neutral.
Yeah. Yes. Trained to drive. Better yet, it gets to relax.
Mm,
It
there
doesn't
you
have to
go.
be so stressed,
Yeah.
so on heightened alert, so much worrying about the bad that could happen.
Yep. So, and that becomes an automatic duty.
Yes, it becomes a intentional automatic
Yeah.
for the at the least amount of return. Sorry, effort, like to change it. because what it means is like, yes, it takes, call it 30 days to train the body differently, right? After that 30 days, it's an automatic, meaning it takes so little energy from that point on, yet it's progressively compounding good.
I always think of Warren Buffett when I hear the word compound.
Yes, that's it.
It's good to be reminded of that.
And it's like progressing is connecting links,
Yeah.
clarity, awareness, possibilities. We we've been trusting, we've been putting too much trust out there in others' answers to our own questions.
Mm.
Which means we don't know how to listen to our answers.
100%.
The point isn't to feel bad about it. The point is to say, oh, I can say yes and I can say no.
Mm.
What would it mean if I did that?
Mm.
And yes, it's a new habit, practice,
Mm.
structure,
Mm.
behavior that we cultivate.
Okay, so let me throw this out. I think also that our 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 our, our predominant nature in our being what we are in a incarnation can be positively progressive, or it can be or it can be negatively progressive.
Mhm.
And both of those can be automatic. So, in
Mhm.
other words, and I think this is why I've been noodling this thing about automatics and ego, because for some people, as you know, I use that phrase, our blueprint. Some people come into the world with this blueprint that enables them to be fearless and in a way that serves the progression of their abundance and therefore those around them. And for me, those are the kinds of people that have and that have automatics that are not ego driven. And that's why when we manage to give children the environment that serves them and a non-judgmental environment, they can retain more of that compassion that they have from the beginning, and they can build on it.
And those early innocent automatics, we'll call it like joyful, you know. I mean, we'll call them all, like all the emotions we experience. But at the core of like what all of us strive for is love.
Mm, mm.
And love, the word love, our meaning of love, our experience of love is ego driven.
Yeah, for 99% of the world, I would agree.
And so, like, as a demonstration, like, good, we can have a conversation. I can sense a challenge, like to challenge the claim and not take it personal,
Mm,
but just sense I was trusting the flow between us in the words you spoken, the emotions behind them, because the emotions are the action, which is the intention.
mm,
So that's a great way to say is I'm listening for the action of the words, because words are not any action. They're not like the words themselves aren't the action. They're only explaining.
and maybe they facilitate exploring.
Of course, which is vital, which is crucial to being curious.
Mm,
But again, our automatic is not that in this society, right? Because of what rules, right, we put in place. And
mm,
facing them, right, tears down, threatens all of the painful moments that we've blocked out.
mm,
Which means we blocked out our truth, our light, our love, our joy, our innocent child first, like how we saw the world,
mm,
emotions, feelings, dreams, expectations. We've separated and caged, covered up, hidden for decades,
mm,
for lifetimes. Wandering in a fog of why our life sucks or isn't better or could be this or what about that? How come me? Right? The victim, the, the protector, all of them, right?
Mm.
And the point is that there's always going to be outliers, exceptions to every rule or every answer.
Yes.
But
And to
there's
remember,
always a structure. And we'll never guess which structure it will be because it's like infinitely.
okay, now I've had a brain freeze. There's
Yeah, I
always
was
a
on a ramble.
so we so there's always a structure and we'll never know what it is.
Mhm.
How did you get to structure again? Can you remember?
Infinite, finite. So the something, nothing, and everything is a structure.
Oh, okay, great. Perfect.
So I go to always fundamental and specific, and those are the only two places I have to test. And if I can test it at that, then it's true everywhere.
If it's true in the fundamental, it will be true in the specific.
Correct. But it's not always true in the specific to the fundamental.
Correct. Yeah.
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 So depends on how it's worded. And a lot of times, right, it's like it will word it in the way without ever reflecting on it. Like that's most of what we run into because of our limited attention.
Mm.
And again, like progressing, it's not like we remember all the miracles, all the good steps along the way, nor do we even remember the neutral ones. And sometimes we remember the painful ones.
Mm. The body
All
remembers.
that's right, all the building of the automatics.
Yeah. It's the affect that builds the automatics, right? Which is that experience without having been labeled yet. When we label it, when we name it, we tame it. But that's when we name it out loud. Then we tame it. But when we avoid it, that's what it is. So with negative affect, we often avoid, right? And so then we don't get to name it, so we don't get to tame it. And for me, that it's that feeds the egoic automatic.
Yep. That's why it's painful and joyous and one, because they're opposite of each other.
Mm.
And the situation happened, and we chose one way to respond to it. And if that worked for us, we stuck with it.
Mm.
Building layers upon layers upon layers. It could be solid ground at one time, and the river gets closer and washes it out.
Mm.
That's what we do when we face something.
Mm.
Face them, name them. It's like, oh, there it is. And as soon as we do that, we take the power from it. So that is the most scary point, is to name it.
Mm. Because that's facing it, Jess.
I know. And then as soon as they name it, right, and then they'll start to judge themselves about it. So what we can see is what they do that they're unaware of, is their automatic structure,
Mm. Mm.
which is always in place in everything they look at, just to different degrees.
Mm.
That's the importance of trusting our guts.
So what if trusting the gut? What if the gut is directly linked to the egoic structure? I mean, it's actually absurd to separate the body, but it's useful. It's very useful because when you first said, that thing about trusting our gut, for a lot of people, when I watch them, and for myself, my own experience, there's a certain experience that I have in my gut that is very egoic driven. It's about safety. And that's okay if you combine it with your heart. Because your heart vibration is a completely different experience.
Mhm. Now, we would really want them, if they were starting out, to like name that gut feeling they have, because most people are living in their gut feeling.
Yeah, yeah, that I would agree with.
So it's
And it's a
right. The practice is to be aware. It's like, so what is like, can that work to help people be aware?
that's a good one. To be able to discern between the two and the different combinations, and that sometimes you need to use only one of them,
Hmm.
and other times it's really beneficial if you use both.
And sometimes you have to invent a new one.
Good luck, Jess. You're going to invent a new body part. But I get your meaning. No, no, that's really good because we're making it
Yeah.
all up as we go anyway, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's like some of them let go instantly, and others, like the lesson, it hasn't played out yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm. But I like this thing of the gut and the heart because when I think of it in those terms, that's very much what I experienced with finding a new home,
Mhm.
right? So interesting, hey?
And that we're in this space between that,
Mm.
right?
Okay, so what's the that? Just for clarity.
So there was a dream, right, that there would be a new home, right? That was the ask. And there was a
Yes.
lot of stress that was around that situation. Yeah.
And
Now,
both, right?
uh,
Because sorry, go ahead. I'll try and remember and circle back.
no, go ahead and go for it,
Okay, so
please.
there was both stress
Hmm.
and trust.
Hmm.
And that trust came from previous experience.
Hmm. Where did the stress come from?
Also previous experience.
Hmm. Which one's true?
They were both true.
Yep. That doesn't have to be an either or.
Yeah.
Our scarcity, right? Our scarcity models, automatics believe that it is.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so I mean, this fits so much for me with my experience that day of just holding the positive and the negative.
Yep.
That's so interesting. Oh God. Oh, sorry, but yeah.
Oh, enlighten me.
Well, previously in our conversation, what I was thinking about was that sometimes I've really wondered what what lesson is there that lies at the bottom of helplessness as a child and the power that we can exercise as an adult. So that's a bit of an artificial split, but for people that live their adult life from pain, you know, mostly from pain, as opposed to from neutral or or joy and a sense of abundance. And so there are two different experiences available to us as a child and as an adult. And if you can hold them both, you get flow in my estimation. You open up space. If you can hold the pain from your childhood and get to experience alignment in your adulthood, and how much of a gateway or a bridge that is to empowerment. I'm thinking now in terms of something, nothing, and everything. So in that awareness, you find the bridge to something, nothing, and everything. So when you said, and we're talking now about combining the gut and the heart, and you said, oh, we create a new one. I was thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to create a new body part. That's interesting. And so what I was feeling was the perfection in the perfection, the imperfection, no, oh God, the perfection of the body, in that it provides an opportunity for experiencing imperfect perfection. And that experience is akin to being the container through which life can flow.
You know, that is the overarching promise. So that it's available inside of each and every one of you.
Yeah.
And we don't need to pay them for theirs.
That's right.
You just have to discover it on your own.
With community.
Well, there you go. So then there's a place, yes, you can do it on your own, or you can do it on your own in a community. Either way, you still have to do it on your own.
Yeah, and some people.
How's that worked out so far? Let me ask you that.
What?
Well,
What are you
like
asking?
so yes, it's like there's a you can, if you hear this, right, like this, resonate with this, there's easy ways to say it's like, oh yeah, I already do that.
Mm.
That is an automatic no. And automatic, it's like that was a automatic. It's like, oh, well, look at me. I already do that. Great. Now, is that an ego automatic, or is that aligning with the resonance, like the matching of like, oh, what they're saying is really good. I can see that. I match it. It's like there. It's like I can, but I can see it in the moment, but I don't do it every moment
Mm.
because I don't do it every moment.
Mm.
But I know we spend an hour and a half together in a community doing something.
Mm.
So yes, that's the community, right? That believes that you have it inside of you. You just need to see how to get there, and you need to help us see how to get there.
Mm,
That's community. That's progressive, progressing abundance by changing our scarcity.
mm, mm.
So, yeah, it's like a please stop paying others for their shit that works for them, but not for you.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe their shit works for other people.
Without a doubt. I just, we're all at different levels.
Yeah. Or on different streams, right?
Hmm. Hmm. And it, they're all connected. But when we
Mm-hmm.
get closer to the specifics, right, we create a whole lot more space.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that it's meant to work together.
Mm, mm,
So that wraps up the create like it morphed through the week. It's like when we,
mm,
so it's like the presently present.
mm,
That's number one. It's like the awareness. It's like, and I was going to end today with another, the truth of what is,
mm,
like accepting, allowing the truth of what is.
mm.
Now, there's if I say that, there's a process to get to what the truth is, which means is being neutral with the present moment.
Mm.
And neutral, and you say, well, you should be happy. Like you should be happy in the present moment. And it's like, yes, after you're neutral, you can choose that because it's a free choice.
Yes. It's not in
And
your
it's
system.
you. That's right, because it doesn't have to be.
Yes.
You need it to be whatever it is in the moment. Now, the thing is that we overcharge things in the moment. It's just become our automatic. And that's where being presently present can
Mm,
help us stay neutral, can help us
mm,
see our automatics, can help us be to see it as it is.
mm,
The
mm,
first one was presently present. The second one was peaceful power.
mm,
It's like in that neutral can be peace.
mm,
The chaos, there can be peace. It's a practice. It's progressive. It's changing. And the power, right? The power is with finding it within you. You have it. You have the answer. Stop asking for other people's answers. Now, in a collaboration, we are free to give our answers and we're free to listen to other people's answers. respecting. Just as much as we respect ours, we respect theirs.
Mm.
It's not like things, it's right or wrong. It's what's the most effective. That is the only, that should be the question. The judgment, the criteria is just what is better. Not good, bad, right, wrong,
Yeah.
good, evil. It's like, which one's better?
Yeah.
That should be the answer, like the question to the answer. So even our automatic answers, our orientation to how we think and structure and look at the situation could be improved. And then we're passionately purpose, like a passionate purpose. Uncovering that, finding that again, that answer is inside of you.
Mm.
It's trusting your gut, following your heart, setting aside your egoic automatics.
Mm. Mm.
The truth, it's like the truth about that is I'm not always right. I don't have to have the answers, and I don't always have to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And that was those were heavy weights of my automatics. Like the source, those were the sources of my automatics.
Mm.
Because we will fight for our passions and our purposes.
Mm.
They excite us.
Mm.
Yet, and they frustrate us, which is why we go towards fighting them rather than loving them.
Mm. Mm.
And they only are inside of us, right? Like like that's the only place we can find them.
Yeah, and sometimes we have to go through a tornado or a hurricane. Thinking of it, the structure of a tornado is more what I'm thinking about. Because we have to find it's like finding the eye of the storm, right? Because that's where we get the kernel, the seed.
And it could be the storm needs to remove the foundation.
That's right. You need to be upended so that you can rebuild the structure.
Mm-hmm. So you either are the storm or the storm is happening to you.
Yeah. Oh, and it's so painful to watch people go through that. God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Doesn't it have to do with an expectation?
What, the painfulness?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we
Well, I
don't
don't know
know
if it's
what it is.
yeah, I don't know if it's an expectation, but it's
Sure it
it's
is.
like sorry, say?
It's like, let's play that it is an expectation.
Okay, that's interesting.
The
Because
automatic is how we deal with it. The automatic is how we deal with it.
yeah, so the expectation, when you said that, what immediately came to mind for me is that that's at the bottom of rage.
Yep.
God, yes, but I mean, it's so hard when you watch someone who had.
Yep. Oh, without a doubt. So it's like, what is like, so here it was like, what is functionally, like foundationally strong is to just ask, well, just to ask how it is. Like, what is it? Because that reveals what they're making up about it. It's the only way that people can see it themselves, which is the fastest way that anyone can progress.
Yes, yes. I think that's probably why I do love my work so much, but the but is that the structure of my profession doesn't suit me, doesn't work for me.
Mhm.
Not all of it, but a large part of it.
Uh, how long
And
does
then
it take? How long does it take to to get the structure in place that you want to change?
I have no idea.
Yeah, generations usually, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want the change immediately. And it's like snap your fingers and be in the other house.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Now, now all that stress, like stress and worry and expectation that was around finding a house, now just got all moved on to moving to that house.
Yes. Yeah.
They didn't
And
go,
it
it
that
didn't go away. It didn't go away. It just shifted.
yeah. It's a mischievous laugh.
Uh, it is. It's like, right? And it's like, oh, great, that's done. Now I can worry about moving. Yeah. Oof, we had a moment of relief.
That
No,
happened
you
this week.
didn't. Good.
Yeah.
Well,
There's a
only if you're
there's a
aware of it.
yeah. Yeah.
Please tell me your story.
What I was thinking about was just, I was thinking about a situation between myself and a friend, and in watching what she is in at the moment, and her whole structure is being upended. That's exactly what's happening. And I guess there's a possibility now that I can see, which I couldn't see before. You know, I felt it on Monday when I was driving home, and I felt it when I was with her also on Monday. Because I often with her feel pretty inadequate in terms of being able to help her out. Because her way of being in the world, it's so interesting. It's so similar to mine, and on another level, it's so different. You know, because we all see things through different lenses, but her lens is a very different one to any of my other friends. So it's a new experience for me. And when you talked about expectation, what I realized was that I could see her expectation and then the part that feels heavy for me is the part that also has an expectation. And when you go to neutral, then you open it up so much further. And part of my expectation is that I can't really help her because I don't know enough. So is that an expectation? In a way, I think it is, right? But I've had demonstration of how other people have made it possible for me to help myself. And that has always been in that space, like that vast space of incredible compassion.
Mhm.
And so it's again, it's the awareness, right? And the capacity to see the different layers.
Mhm. So that seeing the layers becomes an automatic.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and it can be, right?
Yep. Yeah, and it's like you're telling me the water's hot. Huh. That means that it's not cold.
Mm.
Well, what's your definition of hot and cold? Is it
Mm-hmm.
the same as mine?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a really good analogy.
And are you a liar if it's cold?
You didn't get it right.
Based on some unwritten normal?
Yeah.
Like, where does hot end and warm begin?
Yes.
And then where does warm end and cold begin?
Yeah.
That's what I mean between all the space between the lines,
Yeah.
the space between the rules. It's like, oh, there was no space there before. And then we dove deeper and deeper into it, and we just got made more and more space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And connections in our mind, like chemical connections, synapses, like that's all that was happening in the mind during that time.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, when we were talking about the heart and the gut, and I thought to myself,
The heart,
we,
the gut, and the head. Like I want to
yeah,
include the head as the ego. Yeah.
but also when you think about it, we couldn't we couldn't do anything if we didn't have our brain,
Hmm.
right? I go
Yeah.
back to Dan Siegel's mindset.
Yep.
I, I just had this gratitude for my frontal cortex.
Yeah. It's like, we have to, right? And it's like, if we think of it, it's like the evolution of where we are, how we come to where we are isn't satisfactory, but is amazing.
Mm.
And that is like that what is what I mean by like when I say trust the gut is to be aware, oh, the gut, the head, and the heart. It's like, oh, all of those I could begin to explore, but I really don't know
Mhm.
how. Like it's too noisy in my head to know how would be
Yeah,
because it's not what society teaches or trains us or in our automatic to be.
yeah,
Nobody's telling us this. Why? Because they want to get paid.
yeah.
So do I. But then that goes against what I'm saying. Now, there's ways around it, right? There's ways to it all the time. But it's like, no, there's got to be one that isn't. That's just what my gut tells me. Doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't, but I'm trusting it.
Translate that a little bit again for me, please.
So this is about making the complex simple.
Good.
Yeah. And if that were to grow community wise, how would we do that? What would that look like? That was what I was speaking into.
Okay, I get it.
Because it's like that is what we do here every morning
Mm.
is practice living life.
Yes.
So we show up with life where it is, and we show up with, well, whatever it is we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
No agenda, no. It's as close to a neutral practice as I can get.
Yes, so in that way, there's no agenda, right?
right? And play, and I can play with what's been there before, what hasn't been there before, and what worked and could work. And like, right, there's a place to practice.
Mm, mm.
And that means like there's some result for it. There's some reason why we keep doing it.
Yeah, and it will be different for every person, right?
Mhm. So the importance is finding what that is for each person.
Yes, making space for it.
Mm-hmm. To find their truth, which is always inside them. It's always with them. We just need help listening.
So that is the thrust. That might not be the agenda, but that is the thrust of or the impetus. That's a better word, I think. That's the impetus, and it's the organizing principle
Hmm.
for the reason for the group to be. Is that it's a space for people to find their truth.
Like that, the space to find your truth.
Mm,
Truth finding space.
I like that too. Mm.
Truth finding space. See how that works. So, mm,